Heidi ho, everyone, and welcome aboard. It is Sunday, a fabulous Sunday it's been to here in Hobart, Tasmania, from where I come to you, live and true. We are going to have a little chat about trading as normal in the weekly Sunday market update. And first up, we're going to go to New Zealand. I haven't spoken to me, Julian, for ages. G'day, mate.
Geoff, how are you, mate? How's things? And good evening, everybody, and good morning, everybody, wherever you are in the world. So, hello, everyone. And yeah, look, I think I'm going to do. Thank you, Geoff. Shall I get straight into it? Are you happy for me to go straight in?
Well, I was going to ask you a question, but
go with the question.
I was just going to. Well, it's really not a question, I suppose. It's a bit of a statement. And I was thinking only, I don't know, yesterday that the world keeps on throwing up little events for us, doesn't it? That give us trading opportunities. We had.
Let's hope it stays little.
Yeah, indeed. It's the elephant in the room, and we can't dismiss it, I suppose. Just like Brexit was, just like Trump was, just like COVID was, and now we've got Putin. What do we do?
Yeah. Look, so I've just done a session on Trader Cafe, and for those of you who are members, you'll see that, and I encourage you to go and have a look at that. I think the key thing for me is really straightforward, is that so conflicts, and I think we can at this stage still call it a conflict, do two things. They either never happen, and it's all a bit of a damp squid, and we all go back to life as normal, or else if they do take place, they tend to be relatively short-lived. One hopes that if this does take place, it's going to be relatively short-lived. I'm not a military strategist, so I couldn't tell you one way or another. I would assume that life means it won't escalate, and let's just run with that as our best case scenario, whatever does happen, if it does start. And I say to everybody, look, the market will not trade in anything other than a relatively crazy fashion, I think, for the first week or so, right? You're going to have a lot of volatility. Nobody really, if you have a scoot round the markets in terms of experience, I wonder how many people have traded through a significant conflict, right? That would be my question to all of this, right? And I suspect the answer is not very many as a percentage. So there'll be a lot of volatility, there'll be a lot of surprises, there'll be a lot of ups, there'll be a lot of downs, and it could affect lots of things in lots of different ways. So you really have to keep your positions tight, your risk very low, and just if you want to trade through it, just be cautious and be careful. Take the opportunities where you can, and give it some time, and realize that headlines and news is going to happen outside of market trading hours, especially over weekends, and there's nothing you can do to control it. So on the assumption that Geoff has gone black, I'm going to carry on talking in that case then, and
Go for your life, mate. I just had to wet my whistle, as a matter of fact, and I didn't think
that's okay.
Needed to see that.
I'm good. I'm really happy drinking my glass of water in front of everybody, but I understand why you might not. Look, let's have a quick talk, because I don't want to hold everybody up too much, guys. I could put some charts up, but I want you to go and do this yourself. Okay, so here's the homework. Okay, the homework for the day is get some charts out, go and have a look at them and see what I'm seeing, hopefully, if you can. Okay, there's some moves going on in currencies that are really interesting right now. Okay, there's some bullish momentum divergence going on in Aussie and in Kiwi, and there's bearish momentum divergence going on in dollar yen. Okay, that is backed up. In fact, a lot of the yen crosses, that is backed up by the commitment of traders, which is a piece of fundamental analysis we do from time to time. Those who watch this show regularly will know that Ash does that stuff and looks at those figures. At the moment, it appears that commercials have been accumulating shorts in dollar yen and longs in the Aussie and the Kiwi. So those are the two that I think, or three currency pairs I think are very interesting at the moment. For the record, I also think that the sterling Kiwi as well too is looking again potential down from here, as is the Aussie Kiwi as well too. So that really says that there's a general mood that the Kiwi dollar may outperform over the next few weeks. It's nearby, if you like, nearby most popular crosses. Now, getting on to some of the commodity markets, I think the key one for us is the biggie that's breaking out at the moment. I'm sure everybody's aware of precious metals. that gold is doing stuff, and it may be because of Ukraine, it may not be because of Ukraine. I think there was a huge buyer in the market. We've talked about this endlessly on my Trader Cafe show about 3 or 4 weeks ago, a significant buyer in the gold market when it really was very unloved and nobody wanted to know anything about gold. They all thought it was as boring could be. And here we are, I think $150 later, right? So it's an interesting space. On the weekly chart, it looks like it's going to have some kind of retest of a previous high, or possibly even do better than that. No reason to think right now that it's going to reverse, but who knows? We'll take it as it comes. Right now, out of all the markets, it's clearly the most positive and certainly one to consider buying dips on, I think. For the record, again, those of you who follow me, you know that I look at the coffee market. It's been a favorite commodity market of mine, not really because it's an indicator of any kind. I just had a bit of a strong fundamental view on this for the last almost 4 years now. I'm going for 3 years, so it's probably 4. When I think about it, I've been bullish for a very long time, all the way from 90 up to the current $250. Right now, I think it's overbought. I think there's a lot of commercial shorts in the market. They're almost at an extreme level. We have bearish momentum divergence starting to pick up. I think there's a good opportunity for those of you who like trading coffee from the short side to consider a short in coffee as it retraces back to what you might consider to be a more normal level, which will be sub $200, more like 150. I think is probably the natural level for where coffee ought to trade. So that's interesting. And again, I think the last thing I would like to mention is to talk about oil. So here's something interesting. So as the risk of conflict seems to get greater and greater, the oil price doesn't seem to be rallying. It's rallying a little, but it's not rallying as much as maybe something like gold has been. So what's going on? Well, the answer for me is pretty clear. I think everybody who wants to buy oil by now has already bought it. I think the market is quite long. I think it's carrying quite a long position. If a conflict breaks out, then who knows about supply chains, and as a result of that, it might well go even higher than where we are now. But beware spike tops, beware of situations where the market might normalize. And obviously, if there is a resolution to the conflict, you could easily argue that oil is significantly overvalued. We know that from the shape of the curve. It's very backwardated. For those who don't know what that means, either go look it up or see my podcast. I might not have access to it, but go look it up in the on Google to have a look what a backwardated curve looks like. Oil has that. At the moment, they're trying to get it out of storage and put it into the spot market. I don't think there's a real shortage of oil. I think there's a real length of speculators who are willing to hold on to their oil in the hope that prices are going to continue to rally. So that's really one where if I have a worry wart, it's really around that. I think a lot of people have positions there already. So again, nothing happens. We have a neutral situation with Ukraine. The Russians pull back. I suspect oil might come off quite quickly, back into the 70s, possibly even lower. So who knows? Right, again, who knows, right? And again, if conflict does break out, watch out for those extremes. Geoff, I think that's probably it for me on the markets in terms of where things are going. Oh, one other thing I wanted to say, right? When it comes to stock markets, there have been 33 stock market corrections between 1971 and 2022. 33. Okay, only 7 of those have turned into a bear market. So that's
okay,
a 20% chance or more than chance.
So you have
sorry. Okay, hopefully you guys heard me over that. Maybe I'll just repeat those stats one more time.
Please.
Okay, so from 1971 to 2022, there have been 33 stock market corrections. Okay, out of those, only 1 in 5 has been more than 15%. Okay, so that means there's an 80% chance that this correction that we're in at the moment is almost over. Okay, I just want to leave that with you. You may argue it's stock market expensive. You may argue many, many things, but the probabilities are against you on betting against the stock market, on betting the stock market going to continue to go down. For the record, when you have had a bear market, it's lasted for 475 days on average, with an average correction of 35%. So when you think about that, it means you have plenty of opportunity to sell rallies, plenty of opportunities to get out of positions, and also acquire new ones as well too. That's a different type of trading strategy. when we're in a bear market. But the reality is, unless the economy turns down, and there's absolutely no sign of either the European or the US economy turning down, slowing down maybe, turning down no, right? Turning down significantly. There is no sign of a recession anywhere. Then sort of, if there isn't a sign of a recession, then why would the stock market go significantly lower? I'm going to leave everybody with that comment, and I'll pass it over to somebody else now.
Cheers, mate. Before you go, behind you.
Wow.
Wish you without notice. Sorry, you didn't realise what was behind you, didn't you?
Oh, this is it's Milford Sound behind me in the background.
It is, right. That was the question. One of my hats is at the bottom of that somewhere.
Geoff, if you've got caught on the front of that boat when they decided to push you under the waterfall, you deserve everything you got if that's where your hat is. Or if it was a windy day, then again, I'm afraid I can't help you. It rains a lot in Milford Sound. I think when I went there, we caught it on possibly one of the nicest days there's ever been, and it was absolutely fantastic, and it had just been raining. So the waterfalls were gorgeous. Tourist advert time, guys. It's one of the seventh or eighth or ninth wonders of the world. Milford Sound, absolutely phenomenal. If you haven't been, come to New Zealand whenever you can. Hopefully in the next 6 months we're going to open up and come and visit these things. We need your money as well too.
If that's the ninth wonder of the world, the eighth wonder of the world is actually how you get into it. If you fly into it, did you fly into it or did you sail into it?
I've done both. I've flown into it, and I've also taken the tour bus. The tour bus is you stick your life in the hands of a driver who never slows down, and they have special suspension to hold the bus on the roads. So flying into it is an absolutely crazy experience. For those of you who haven't done it, travelled in a small aeroplane, then it's an excellent way to cure you of ever having to worry about turbulence in an aircraft again. Going over the hills from Queenstown in a light aircraft is just absolutely amazing. You get thrown about all over the place. And it's only balsa wood holding you together. So how exciting is that?
Totally, yeah. But the views are pretty damn good, aren't they? That's
it doesn't get any better.
End of tourism, New Zealand. And look, 100%. Glad to hear you say that Aussie Kiwi is on your sell list. It's my number one trade for the week upcoming.
There we go.
See how it goes.
Cool. Cheers, everybody.
Okay, from Auckland, New Zealand, we now go to Sydney in Australia, Sin City, as I call it. Well, it used to be when I was a young man anyway. It's changed a little bit. Good evening, Lenka. How you doing?
Hi, Geoff. I'm well. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me.
How's COVID in Sydney at the moment? Still thousands of cases a day, but the death rate's down, I believe.
I don't know. I don't follow it.
Oh, okay.
Remember, I do technical analysis. No news for me. I live under a rock.
Look, there's nothing wrong with that if we're talking trading, but it's kind of okay if you know how many people are dying around you, I would have thought.
Yeah, well, maybe, but I know some family and friends that had it, but everyone recovered well, so all good here.
Yeah, we seem to be on the up, don't we? What's happening in the markets, Nate? What are we doing?
I'm going to go through a couple of charts, so let me just share my screen. Alrighty. So I'm looking at Euro USD, looking at short for this week. I was actually already looking for short last week. So just looking to see if there is either a pullback or breakthrough and a retest of this low here. So still looking for short on that one. And my other one is GBP JPY, also short on this one. For those of you who are already on my Telegram group, I'm already in that trade short, and I've moved the stop loss to break even just before the weekend. So we're already in that. And if there is another opportunity, perhaps we can enter again this week coming up. So we're still looking for short on GBP JPY. And last one is Euro JPY. So on that one, I'm also short on Euro JPY. Similarly, I'm already in that trade with break even for the stop loss. So looking to see what happens now, whether there is a pullback or a breakthrough and a retest of the low. So those are my top three for this week coming up, and we shall see what the price action does. That's
We
all
get
from
through
me.
that support. That one's looking pretty good, I would think, Lenka, in
Yeah.
particular if they start firing bombs and lasers and all that, or whatever
Yeah.
they fire these days. That'll probably go okay, I would imagine.
Yeah. So
Also in
we'll
it, I
see.
must say. I'm pleased to say.
Yeah,
That's it from you, mate.
Yeah, that's all. Thank you very much.
All right, 3 goldies coming on, not actual gold, but gold plated. I would have thought trades coming up. Thanks, Lenka.
Yeah.
Much appreciated. We'll catch up with you in a couple of weeks.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you.
Okie dokie. It is now time to go to the deepest voice in trading that I'm aware of. And we go to Colombia and say, a very good, I think it's 3:30 in the morning.
All right, traders, trader
To
Paul
Trader
here, and yeah, let's talk about the USD, right? So I'm going to be looking at the DXY, the US dollar currency index, and well, you know that I am a US dollar trader, and well, if you didn't know the 96.70 level, this level right here, let me just thicken this one out, right? This level right here is super, super important on the DXY, right? Let me show you the 2-week chart. And if you notice, this level has been key pivotal since March, or well, since the beginning of 2015. And if we go even further back in historic price action, well, you can see that this level has also been pivotal. Well, since the beginning of the 90s, right? So very, very, very strong level on DXY. This is the reason that I haven't really traded the USD this week, right? And the reason being because there is absolutely no edge on getting on a buy position just below that level. The last time that I traded the upside on the DXY, on the US dollar, right, was the break of this flag. And as you can see, it was a full fake out, and price just bounced back below that 96.70 levels. Now, having said that, on Friday, I was looking at this short-term flag, right, on the DXY. Now, the reason that I didn't took a buy here was because we were very, very close to the previous key level and the previous broken nose. So there was absolutely no edge on getting on a buy here on the US dollar. Now, having said that, Friday closed very, very bullish. If you look at the 4-hour chart, we can see a clean rejection of the weekly pivot, the previous key level, the previous immediate pivotal level, and now the USD or the DXY is rallying. So next week I'm looking for buys on the US dollar and buys only, and my plan is going to be a retest of the previous broken highs, right? So what I would like to see in order for me to get into a buy is a pullback towards those lows, and here finding a high probability trade to go long on the US dollar. Of course, that I am not going to be buying the DXY. I'm going to be looking for the markets that I trade the US dollar on, and I will be looking for possible US dollar South African rand longs. Even though the South African rand is has been quite strong since well, since the highs that well, or the lows in this case it printed against the US dollar on November 2021, on the daily looks quite good for a possible buy on US dollar strength. And the reason that I'm always looking for my place on the US dollar on these exotic markets is because if we have or if we get a big move or a strong move on the US dollar because of the weaker currencies that the US dollar is paired on this market, that move can be substantially bigger well in these markets, right? So heads up to that possible long on the US dollar. I do not have a play on the downside on the USD, of course. I am bullish on the US dollar and trying to buy the dip only. Now, on the actional market analysis group, we are still very much riding those buys in gold from February 15. Actually, we're riding it from 2 weeks ago. Our first buy was here. We took profits all the way, right? And we bought again here. Now, geopolitically speaking, the tensions in Ukraine are um, making or pushing or triggering this rally in gold. Well, we already know that these kinds of incidents, geopolitically speaking, make for investors to move to less riskier investments and protect their equities. So they move funds or money moves to safe havens such as gold, right? That's why my view on U.S. equities is a little bearish at the moment. But I'm pointing this out because the first buy was technically um, took, right? Then we started adding buys because of the tensions in Ukraine. And if we look at the weekly chart in gold, what I dig about this is the last 2 week candles are extremely bullish, right? And a break and if the market opens, if gold opens higher, right, above the 1910 level or so, um, um, that would bring more bullish momentum, and we could see this market or this precious metal break with that key level that on the higher time frames would mean that gold, technically speaking, would be breaking with this long-term bullish flag on the weekly chart. So heads up to that. Just what I'm looking at for next week, right? Buys on the USD and more buys in gold.
Interesting that both of those are buyers. Not normally the case, I wouldn't have thought. But anyway, as Orlando said, to my mind, the market is starting to think conflict and reacting to that just a little bit cautiously, I would add. I don't think there's any dramatic moves at the moment, but we may see those. Well, I'm sure we will see those if a shot is fired in anger. We'll watch that space very, very closely. Just from my perspective, there is a little bit going on with China and Australia at the moment. There's always something going on between China and Australia from a, I don't know, antagonistic point of view. And it seems that a Chinese, I better choose my words carefully here, ship, nuclear capable ship, let me put it that way, pointed a military laser. Now, I'm not sure what a military laser actually means, but it pointed a military laser at one of Australia's, don't know what the plane was actually, but it was a fighter plane. And the Australian government are not happy about that. What that means is yet to be seen, of course, but if China and Australia go into more conflict in trade terms, that's not going to be good for Australia. There's not a good outcome there for Australia. China versus Australia, I think I'd back the Chinese, frankly, and I think that may put downward pressure on the Aussie. That's why I mention it. And the Aussie versus the Kiwi is probably going to be a decent a decent pair to look at as the week progresses. That's not that, of course. I'm looking at the dollar index, and that does look to be in a little bit of a range to me, to be fair. But with the prospect of bouncing off the bottom of that channel, that may be a buy as well. Okay, guys, that is, yes, in Australian waters, Gary, that's 100% right. What they're doing, I've got no idea, but they weren't fishing. Well, certainly not fishing for fish, those creatures that float in the sea. It's time for us to go. Lenka, thank you. Thank you, Julian. And thank you, of course, to Orlando, who must be unconscious by now. It is around about 3:30 in the morning over there, after all. He was recorded, if you didn't pick that up. Have a wonderful rest of Sunday for those of you who've got some of it left. For those of us who haven't, sleep well. And we look forward to opening the markets in the morning to see exactly what's happened over the weekend. Have a wonderful week ahead. Bye-bye.